What's going on, guys? This is Mike Ass here with my draft recap video for the UU League in Drafters Paradise. Got here the outline. Shout out to Mr. Streamerman Pokey Baldy for giving me the inspiration for this. So we're just going to go through my thoughts on why I picked what I picked when I picked it. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Maybe I'll do some videos for my actual battles and whatnot. So going into the draft, I was looking at the tier list, and I just kind of noticed I actually had the second overall pick, I believe. I just kind of noticed that none of the tier ones that I saw were super tempting to me. I actually was looking at tier 2 and I just figured that I liked a lot of the tier 2 mons a little bit more than the tier 1s, and I figured I could wait and hold off on tier 1 until a little bit later when everybody was trying to get their tier 1s in as fast as possible. So my first pick was actually Landorus Incarnate. I was a little bit surprised that it was actually in tier 2 when in other leagues and old tiers I've seen, or in old generations I've seen it actually in tier 1, even without Sand Force or without Sheer Force. So I figured, it's got good speed tier, 101 speed outspeeds pretty much most things in this UU format that are a bit of a threat to it. 125 attack, 115 special attack with decent bulk, that's something that you can bring every single game. It's got rocks, it's got defog, U-turn. The only thing it doesn't really have is flying coverage, so that's not super great, but it does have some other coverage moves like psychic and rock coverage and whatnot. So I thought that this would be a really good pick to build my team around. And then second pick comes around, and I'm still actually looking in tier 2, and I see this absolute beast of a Pokemon, Conkeldurr. 140 attack is something that you're not going to get out of most Pokemon. With 105 HP, that's pretty decent bulk regardless of what the defensive stats are. Getting the Guts ability, Iron Fist, I'm probably not going to be running Sheer Force at all. It's just an absolute wall breaker, and it pairs pretty decently with Landorus since it can switch into pretty much all the ice types, like the prolific ice types in the tier, which are going to be the biggest threats to Landorus. So I figured that these two would be a pretty good pairing. If I end up doing a lot of physical Landorus, it's just a double physical wall breaker core that I can bring pretty much every week. So then with my third pick, I actually decided to leak down into the third tier, and I wasn't really looking for anything specific. I just looked through it and tried to see something that kind of piqued my interest. Galvantula is, it's got the sticky webs, which really helps with my Landorus and my Conkeldurr, just to be able to outspeed some Landorus, to outspeed some sweepers, Conkeldurr to outspeed some walls, like some of the faster walls in the draft. And then also just being able to be a fast mon itself. 108 speed is faster than anything I've drafted so far. And even though it's only got 98 special attack, with the compound eyes, it can blast off thunders with no fear. And having ground and electric pairing is really good. I like to have as many of my my 3 type combinations as I can: grass, water, fire, uh, electric, ground, flying, fighting, dark psychic, dragon, fairy, steel. All those cores are like really nice to have. So, you got to have a fast electric type, or else your team is no good. My next pick, I actually go back into tier 2. I'm kind of figuring out the free points at this point, and I'm like just trying to take as many of the really good tier 2 Pokemon there are. In this draft, there's just not as many like super good fairy types. And actually, as I'm looking at it in the tier list, that for my section's draft, Ninetales Alola, Sylveon, Togekiss, and Galarian Weezing all in tier 2 still haven't been picked. So there's a lot of good fairies that are still available, but at this point in the draft, in the 4th round, I'm trying to pick something that's really good that can cover me. And Primarina is just a great mon, having really good Spadef. It can tank a lot of those ice moves that I'm still kind of worried about with Landorus. If you have a 4 times weakness and you overcorrect for it, the opponent's not going to want to, is not going to have as easy of a time bringing that type. So I really want to cover for my ice weakness with Landorus. And then not only that, but Primarina also gets Flip Turn, which is just really nice because I already have 3 momentum Mons, and Landorus getting U-Turn, Galvantula with Flip Turn, Primarina with Flip Turn. So I have really good synergy with that. They can just, flip around to each other. And with 60 speed under webs, like that's outspeeding pretty fast Pokemon. So I don't know the exact speed tier that it outspeeds, but having those webs up helps a lot. So then for my 5th pick, I was starting to look at my team and get a little bit worried about my fairy weakness of my own. And even if none of these big fairies got picked up in my division, if I end up making it to the playoffs, I know that I'm going to be facing some really strong fairies at a certain point. And Stack Attack was something that I've always wanted to pick up. Even though it only has 61 base HP, having 211 defense and 101 special defense with 113 attack, this thing is just an absolute monster. With 13 speed, it's hitting like 150 base power gyro balls on like pretty much everything other than Shuckle or something like that. So if I can get rid of resist like bulky waters and whatnot, this thing can go for an absolute sweep at the end of a game if I end up bringing it. And just being such a defensive mon, it's just a really good wall. And it's another Stealth Rocker on my team, so that Landorus doesn't have to bring Stealth Rocks every game. So I thought this was a pretty good pickup. Also helps with, covers Primarina's poison weakness. And a bit of a, it adds a psychic resist as well. So I thought that this was a pretty good pick at this point in the draft. I don't remember exactly what tier it was. Tier 4. Right? No, tier 3. It's pretty good value for tier 3. How many insane stats it has, and being able to either beast boost defense or attack if I want to. It's just really nice. Then I was just kind of thinking that Gengar and like some of the other really strong ghost types were just going to be really good in UU, because there's not going to be as many like super bulky like normal types or just like really good Spadef mons. So I decided to pick up Licky Licky. This Mon's really nice because, you know, it gives me a little bit of wish passing. I don't really have any natural like recovery. Um, Conkeldurr gets Drain Punch, Galvantula gets Giga Drain, Primarino Draining Kiss, but none of them get like recover or anything. So being able to wish pass to those bulkier Mons is going to be really nice. Gets knockoff, and it's a nice ghost resist with good HP. So I thought it fit pretty well, and I believe it was in tier 4. No, yeah, tier 4. So I thought that was a pretty good value pick for tier 4 as well. Just kind of filling out my tiers for what I need. Yeah, so then my next pick, I was kind of noticing a bit of a fighting weakness. And I did want some flying offense as well, because Landorus doesn't really give that to me. And I also wanted a fire type. So I was looking at the tier 2 fire types, and my options were like Arcanine, Entei, Incineroar, Moltres, and that's it. Or I could have taken Rotom Heat for tier 1 as well. And I just thought Moltres fit really well because it gives me another defogger. Flame Body is really, really nice. It doesn't add another fight. It adds a fighting resist for me, which is really good. And I also just wanted to try Moltres because I've seen it do some work, but I've never used it before. So I picked that up. You know, we'll see how that one goes for me. And I also didn't want to use my tier 1 on Rotom Heat, just because I already had a decent electric type, and I thought I could get a little bit more value out of my tier 1 than a Rotom form. So then, I guess I lost my slide for Cradilly. My next pickup was actually Cradilly. That was my tier 5 pick, and I was just looking through tier 5 to just find the best Pokemon that I could pick up. I know I wanted a grass type. Cradilly's okay. I mean, it is a tier 5, so I don't know. You know, it's not going to be the best mon ever, but it does add a water immunity, because I'm a little weak to that right now. Landorus, Stakataka, Moltres are all water weak, so that adds an immunity there. It gives me another Stealth Rocker. I can Leech Seed Pass with it. It's just pretty good. It's got recovery, so it's decent. Then at this point, I was just a little bit worried that all the good tier 1s were gonna go, and I didn't have anything like super important that I wanted with the rest of my picks. So I was just kind of looking at tier 1 for what I wanted. I wanted a psychic type at some point. I needed a dark type for sure. So I had Alakazam, Azelf as options. I also wanted a dragon, so I was looking at Hexorus. I was looking at Reuniclus because it looks like it goes a little crazy in this format. And I also looked at Zarude a little bit, which could have been cool, but I felt like I was pretty physically offensive, especially with Conkeldurr. It would have been okay, but didn't help me too much. So just picking between all of those, I thought Hydreigon fit the best on my team. It gives me a pretty consistent Scarfer, especially with all these fairies that didn't get picked up. I mean, I didn't even mention that Grimmsnarl, Hatterene, and Klefki didn't get picked up either, like, or a Azumarill. So there's like, I'm not going to be facing very many fairies at all. So Hydreigon's just going to be able to blast off some crazy Dracos. It can also be physical with Dragon Dance. It can be. It has a really good versatility because it can be defensive with Roost as well. Another defogger if I need it. It's just a really good versatile tier 1, but it's also really offensive, so I can use it however I need to, and it fills in some of the types that I was missing. So yeah, with that pick, I finish out my Dragon Fairy Steel core with Hydreigon, Stakataka, and Primarina, which is it's a decent core there. I have my Fire, Water, Grass core with Moltres, Cradily, Primarina is decent. Moltres, Galvantula, Landorus is my ground electric flying core. The only thing that I'm really missing right now, I have my normal in Licky Licky. Only thing I'm really missing now is a decent psychic type to finish out the fighting dark psychic core. So there were a couple options left in tier 5. All I had left was a tier 5 pick. I was looking at Calyrex. Calyrex is garbage. I decided that thing sucks. Executor is okay, but I didn't really want that. Jinx would give me an ice type, but since I have Landorus, I don't really need an ice type. There's no nothing I really need ice for, since I already took the thing that you need ice for. I know there was a Kadabra that was a possibility, of Mr. Mime, and I just kind of wanted, or Rapidash Galar, or Galar, however you say it. So I kind of had to pick between those. I kind of looked at my team and noticed I was a little bit slow, so I do have the webs option. Stakataka can set up Trick Room, but I don't want to have to bring Stakataka to set up Trick Room. So to fill all of those missing pieces, I decided to pick up Duosion. It's my one Eviolite user, so this league actually has a items clause, so you can only bring one of each item on your team. So Duosion is the only Eviolite user, so I don't have to worry about that ever. 125 special attack is pretty nuts for a second stage Mon. Even though it's only got 65 health, with 50 defense and 60 Spadef, with Eviolite it's actually okay. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like the best defensive Mon ever, but it can tank hits and it pretty much kills whatever it wants to. And it gives me, a Trick Room option. It gives me regen Mon, Magic Guard, just a pretty okay Psychic. If I feel like I'm a little bit too slow, I might switch that out for Kadabra or Rapidash. But I think it fits pretty well. So yeah, that's my recap here for my team. Going against the Ice Qs for my first week. So when I get the battle done, I will record a little bit of a team preview, and I might record the the replay. So look forward to that.